elections, and when I was there in 2007 for the referendum on putting amendments to the Constitution of Venezuela, there were 56 amendments. The booklet was essentially the size of War and Peace, which, as you remember, was quite large. And so it all went up for vote on the same day, all 56 proposals. And at 1 a.m. in the morning, I was watching Chavez on TV. He came on and said, well, the results are in. We've lost by 1/4%. Then he goes, so congratulations to the opposition, and now the struggle continues. So if I had looked, when I ran for president of the student council in high school, this goes back a ways, I got 50 votes out of 1,000 students. So, yeah, thank you. Thanks. And so there was no room for finagling. If I had lost by 1/4%, even though I'm basically a decent guy, I might have tried to figure out, I wonder if there's any way to recount that 1/4%. Chavez did not do that. He came on TV live at 1 in the morning, clearly exhausted. We'd been up at 5 a.m. We went to 6 voting areas all over the country. We were all exhausted. He came on, he said, 1/4%, congratulations, the struggle continues. So, my instinct is to say that any of these complexities that must be solved by Venezuelans need to be solved by Venezuelans. It's a complicated situation, but the sovereignty of the Venezuelan people is, for me, the most important thing. Not Mike Clark's opinion. Who died and left me boss? Nobody, as far as I can tell. And so that's...
I have a question.
Yes.
I haven't been keeping up with everything, so I'm trying to understand what is going on with all the allies.
Right.
And what Cuba is doing, and what's going on in Colombia and Nicaragua.
Right.
And who in Europe is trying to do some type of solidarity.
Right.
That's from, I guess, including Russia.
Right. Yeah, I think the simplest answer to that is that there are, first of all, 3/4 of the governments in the world still recognize the government of Nicolas Maduro. Period. So that's just a fact. And there's been no shifting from side to side in the last 4 months. Okay. Secondly, having said that, there are also governments in the world, China, Russia, Iran, down the line, Cuba, who are offering material and moral support to Venezuela at this moment, and are in international settings standing up to our administration when they try to change that situation. So that's the second point. The third is there have been solidarity actions among peace and justice people in virtually every country in the world at this point. So while Venezuela has not been as much on people's radar as Central America was in the 80s, or as the Iraq and Afghanistan wars were in the early 2000s, there have been actions across the globe saying that the sanctions and the imposition of the sanctions is not only illegal and criminal, it's actually causing death. And so right now there are forces in the world that are working against Venezuela, but also this present situation has brought people into the fray on the other side who have not been perhaps as active as they were before. And so that's where things stand now. The other question that came up over here during the break was that it's very important, obviously, what happens with the Venezuelan military. The hope and expectation and absolutely counting on it as necessary and definite was that Guaido would declare himself president, and then the general staff of the Venezuelan military would defect, would break ranks with the government, and that tens of thousands of soldiers would defect. That's not happened. There have been interesting ways to try to muddy the waters by Pompeo, for example, saying, well, the next 3 generals who are going to come over are they, so let's just watch. And then when they don't do it, they go, well, I guess they changed their mind. But it's a way to put out the sense that there's instability. Head of the security did do that, okay? He's the only ranking officer. But the other generals are solid. And here's the other thing. The largest figure that I've seen about soldiers who defected, who were on the Colombian border, the largest figure I've seen is 1,500 soldiers. Okay, so it sounds like a lot. Well, the active duty military personnel in the Venezuelan Army and Navy and Air Force is 351,000. So that's 0.4%, which, just for the record, I like to do things like this, and I'm still able to do the math. If I had an army of 1,000 and 4 guys called in sick, no, I'm serious. That's what has happened so far. I have an army of 1,000 and 4 guys called in sick. If I had the 2 million reservists who aren't just sitting around twiddling their thumbs, I've seen these guys, if you add the 2 million reservists, it's 2,351,000 military personnel, active and reserve. And if those 1,500 people actually have defected, that's one guy calling in 3 hours and asking if he can have the morning off, out of 1,000. So what we have been counting on, the US has been counting on, is there'd be massive defections, that you'd already see that happening, and it has not happened. And so not only is Guaido continuing to be essentially pretend president, but there's not been a gap between the military and the civilian leadership, and also there's been more international solidarity than perhaps they expected would happen. So all those are factors that they weren't counting on when they thought this would be a cakewalk.